Alexander, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning to you. We are here in La Casa del Habano in Kuwait City. It's a great privilege for me, and it's really sincere to meet with you because as most or all of the cigar aficionados, I discovered cigars, and the Cuban cigar website was always for me an important tool, a companion, and this is one of the reasons of the interview. I would say we're going to talk about Cuban cigar website and how you are linked to the website. And you came here for the launch of your new book, and it's a wonderful book. I made a video about it. It's very impressive, so I have a lot of questions to ask you about it. You don't seem to be drained, so I know it must have been a lot of work, stress, and I know I was part of the stress. So first of all, before we start, so we're at La Casa. We're just being served with wonderful coffees. It's late morning before lunch, so I'm going to offer you a cigar, and I bought some different cigars, so I want to know what you want to smoke. And you will have to tell me why you chose this cigar and not something else. So we have some,
Wow.
You know them all, they're all Cubans.
Originals.
Yes, so we have the Portuguese regional editions, we have a French regional edition, we have Diplomáticos number 1 and 3 from 2000.
Wow.
We have a Mexico, this is the Cuaba, for Asia Pacific, which is the APAC.
Yeah.
We have here the, this is the Churchill from the jar, the Sevilla jar. This is a
San Luis Rey double Corona, probably.
Double Corona, yes, a bit damaged because it's been traveling with me. You have the San Cristobal for the Portuguese market. Here you have the Echapman Noellas from the jar, which is I think 2012 or 13. And we have some Belicosos Finos, standard production. And here you have the Quai d'Orsay Royal Selection from Switzerland, Selection Royale, the latest regional edition. In February they're launching the Diplomáticos regional edition for Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
In Basel, and here you have the Balbec from Lebanon, and this
Robusta Sufimos.
the Robusta Sufimos 2014. So you tell me what you want, and you can of course smoke what you want.
Well, I knew what I wanted from the first bag. I shouldn't have made you go through the whole thing.
Okay,
but
choose, and let's.
I'll say,
that.
look, San Luis Rey DC, fantastic cigar.
Yeah.
Love it. To me, not really worth smoking the collection vintage because they're from the jar.
Yeah.
An old cigar is an old cigar, but why break up the jar? Noel is one of my favorites. But yeah, I would choose the Diplomatico number 1, I think.
I think it's a wise choice. A friend of mine, my friend Khaled, smoked one. He was very impressed.
I'm not sure I've ever had it. I've had the Monte Cristo number 1 many times, which I like, and I've had many Diplo number 2, number 4. But yeah, beautiful size.
Yes,
I like
and
Diplo.
I think it's the right time of the day to smoke this.
Yeah.
I would have been surprised if you had taken the Robusto Supremos now at 11 in the morning. I would have been, wow, this guy.
That's the most expensive, so I would always choose it.
It's and for me it's really a first evening cigar.
Yeah.
Let me cut this for you with the Habano Moderno.
Yeah.
Kata.
My first time seeing one. You have you have one I don't have.
Okay, so this is your cigar. I let you light it. I think the lighters are filled, so it's all fine. I'll try this one.
Nice.
Maybe it's fine. And me, I am going myself to smoke a number 3. So we will be smoking Diplomaticos together. So
I'll try and smoke a little slower, no faster.
let's start with the Cuban Cigar website. So how did you get into cigars? And I guess then how from being liking or smoking cigars you ended up
Yeah.
linked to Cuban cigars, with Cuban Cigar website, which I guess led to you writing this book. So if you don't mind talking to us about it.
Very nice. Well, it started, I guess, when I was about 18, when my friends got married and I had to organize the bachelor party, and I'd never been to a bachelor party, so I said, what do people do? You have to smoke cigars. So, yeah, I bought some horrible cheap cigars and we smoked them.
Usually they don't only do that in some countries. They also behave badly, get really drunk. I would not have thought.
Oh, there may have been some of that as well.
But this is okay. This is classified. This classified information you've sworn. Okay.
I suppose the statute of limitations is long expired.
Yeah, sure. There are rules.
And yeah, I just really liked it from that age. You know, the first puff, something about it, just the tobacco taste, really appealed to me.
Okay, from the beginning you liked it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just, from then I started to, buy just from liquor shops, Monte Cristo number 4, on a Saturday night when I was going to a party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking last night. I was telling this story with a different group, and someone was saying, when I was 18, girls would never have gone near me when I was smoking a cigar. And I thought, that's why there were no girls with me.
Yes, when you're 19 or 20 like I was smoking a cigar, a lot of women in this time, young girl, they would say, who does he think he is? And I would say, or even guys, other guys would think that, because at that time, for a younger man to smoke was not common.
Yeah.
You had to be usually bald, fat, and old to smoke a cigar. You know what I mean? Churchill's kind of person. And so that is why you and I maybe were single a long time.
Yeah. I remember, I would usually, out in the backyard of someone's house, and it would be, I had 1 or 2 friends who started to like it, and then other guys would come over, can I have a puff? What's this? But yeah, the girls were always, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, so
it was, a lot of people are introduced to cigar by somebody else offering them a cigar. Mm-hmm. Somebody who has a bit more experience, so you can exchange information and learn. And I have a mentor, of course, but it was really something you discovered on your own, no?
In those early days, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, because I started to, once I liked it, I would try and get my friends into it. But yeah, I knew nothing about cigars, and I had no...
So you're Australian, by the way, didn't start, but it was in Australia. Huh?
Yeah.
Which is not the easiest place to smoke cigars.
I mean, back then it was much easier. This was before you could still smoke in bars.
You carried guns. You could go hunting Crocodile Dundee, and I remember I saw all the movies.
Guns were banned in 1996, so
okay,
this is probably a few years after that. No more guns, but we still had smoking.
Okay,
smoking wasn't banned until 2007.
So Australia lost a lot of fun, at least. Okay. All right. So you're starting the discovery of cigars.
So yeah, I started. This would have been around 2000, 2001 was when I was starting, and then. So I kept on. I'd smoke a bit on the weekends and here and there. And I went to Cuba in 2005 for the first time, which, I went with just a friend just for tourism more than cigars. Like obviously I like cigars, so that was part of it, but it wasn't like going to a Habanos festival or anything like that. But I remember I bought, there's a little factory, I think probably domestic cigars outside of Trinidad, that I bought some off the rollers table. She sort of gave me in the newspaper, pss, 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 2 CUC or something for 10. And I was just smoking those constantly every day in Cuba. I don't know, they tasted fantastic. I don't know what they were. Probably if I had them now, I would think they were very unrefined. But
they taste different. I mean, fresh, real rolled cigars, even if the blend is not wonderful, they always taste better in Cuba.
Yeah. So from that, I then I was on Friends of Habanos forum, and it was really starting to increase my interest. And then it would have been, I think, 2008. I was in Japan. I was teaching English for a year, so I sort of had a lot of free time. And I'd studied computer programming, and I'd worked as a programmer for a few years, and then I'd made enough money that I wanted to travel and have some fun as a young man.
Something about the Australians. Something tells you at a young age that you need to get out before you settle down, because you feel somehow like New Zealanders, isolated down under. And there is something, it's true. Huh? So you wanted to get
Everyone
out.
Does it.
Yes,
around the
I
24 or so. Yeah. Once you finish university, that's
I have great friends from Australia. Met them in the UK. They did this experience outside.
Well, you can get a lot of visas. Under 30, there's a program, many countries where you can do like basically free for a year working visa, do whatever you want, which is like impossible to get any other age. But it's very
You can
easy.
too adopt a young Australian who needs to discover the rest of the world. Yeah, especially when you were talking before internet, and the exchange of information and everything, and all the videos, and you needed to feel and see something else.
Yeah, and I guess like if you live in Europe, you can travel to other countries for nothing, for a few $100, whatever.
You're from Napolitan and you want to see the Finns, it's just straight up.
Yeah.
And it costs you 200 euros.
Yeah.
Australia is different.
Yeah, Australia, anywhere, apart from New Zealand and Indonesia, anywhere is like 20-hour flights, $2,000 ticket. Like for a young person, it's a big expense to travel. So I guess that's why we do it. When we go for a long time.
Yeah, of course. So you're in Japan, and
I'm in Japan. I'm getting interested in cigars. And Friends of Habanos had a blind tasting competition where they sent out, it was like 5 sticks, no bands. And Cuban Cigar website existed at that time. It had been around since 2006, I think, run by Trevor, who's an older guy he'd retired and then created the site as his sort of retirement hobby. And he'd basically, when it first started, it was just the Minrani book
so
digitized.
Minrani, the encyclopedia of post-revolution Cuban cigars, which for us aficionado is, of course, a sort of Bible, and we all grew up with this.
Yeah.
Then Cuban Cigar website appeared.
Yeah. So I guess Trevor's idea was that, so the Minrani book, it really documents 1980 to 2002, which was sort of a very, 1980 there were many cigars discontinued, a lot of change happened in the Cuban cigar industry.
Yeah, following the blue mold.
And then around 2000 is when Habanos SA, the Spanish money came into the Cuban industry, the joint venture started, and from there it was another period of crisis sort of with Cuban cigars, because they had this special period in the 90s and production had really fallen away, and they'd really tried to up the volume and decrease the quality a lot. So it was a strange time there, and then Spanish money came in, and then that's when all of the limited edition programs start, and then the regional, and all of the anniversary humidors, all that stuff. So I guess what Trevor wanted to do with CCW was take the Minron ebook and then continue it and keep,
and
providing.
update, because that's one thing about a book, and we're going to talk about yours, is that once you start publishing it, then it's already outdated because there are new cigars all the time. So that's why you need to make updates. What I wanted to do when using CCW, because I had this blind tasting, so I wanted to get a list of every cigar in the size that was the cigars that I had, so I could figure out what my choices were to guess which. At that time, Cuban Cigar website didn't have any database. There was no search. There was no way to do that. You just had to look at each brand. It's like a catalog,
and then write it down. So I emailed Trevor and said, hey, you should add this stuff to your website. And his reply was, well, you do it. So as it happened, I had the computer programming skill and I had some time, so I did it.
So Cuban Cigar website was, Trevor is also an Australian, no? Mm-hmm. So this is nobody talks about Australia in involvement in the Cuban cigar community, but from Cuban Cigar website and your book, Minron is based in Asia. I think it's
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, Chinese man. So Asia and.
But it's interesting. So I'd never met Trevor at that point. I just knew him through email.
Oh, okay.
And I was in Japan. I wasn't in Australia. And Friends of Habanos is also started by an Australian, Rob Ayala. So, but again, that's not relevant. I had just searched for a cigar website and found what coincidentally was an Australian website, and then searched for more information and found another Australian website. And I'm Australian, but
it was just a coincidence.
It's just coincidence that it was nothing. Sure. They're all just on the internet.
No, you're not like a big
it's
sect.
not like it's not like we were all down at the club and we met each other. It was all It's very strange because Australia doesn't have much cigar culture. There's no lounges anymore. There's no high taxes, very restrictive. Nothing like.
No, even
Kuwait,
Switzerland. It's not like Switzerland with Davidoff and Geneva and Zurich, Basel.
So it's very strange that
culture.
The three of us come from this.
Very strange. Because it would have been logical to have you Cuban or even you have great shops in Belgium, Holland, and Belgium, Holland. So very impressive. Okay, so you're starting to get involved. He's offering you to make some changes to the website.
So I ran it. I took over the technical side of the site from those first emails. I built a small prototype, and Trevor was like, "Oh wow, this is very impressive." So
you met him at that time?
I hadn't met him. I didn't meet him for years.
Really?
Yeah.
Australia is a big country, so
I'm from Melbourne. He's from Sydney, so
yes.
But still, I was in Japan.
Two different states, and usually the guys don't like each other. I know I have friends from Melbourne, friends from Sydney. The beer is different. In South they speak. They drink VBs, and in Sydney they drink Castlemaine.
Han. So I took over the technical stuff. So we just communicated entirely with email. He was doing like the updating it, but I was doing anything technically. So he would say, "Oh, we want to add this information, this feature, and this sort of stuff." So it started to build out. Obviously it's advanced a lot from what it was back then, but what you see today is sort of a lot of what Trevor and I built together.
But once again, you just say, "I will help." There was no question of money. There was no question of salary. It was just, in these days, men accepted to work hard for the community, expecting nothing in return. No, it's true. I mean, they didn't tell you. You didn't say, "Oh, by the way, can I have this? Can I have that?" No, it was just like, "I'll help you." Passion.
Yeah, we never discussed money. I think maybe he offered at one point. He said, "Oh, what can I pay you?" But I was like, "Don't worry about it. I don't know." It just seemed like he was like, the website makes no money. There's no. There's no advertising. There's no. I mean, there is a donation link, but
but we have to talk about this donation link.
He did. one thing I did receive, I didn't ask for it, but Trevor started to send me a lot of, because he was buying at that point everything. Like for all the pictures, he would buy every release that he could find. So he would send me like every few months a gift pack of singles of different sort of regionals and stuff, which that was another thing that really began to expand my interest in the hobby, because I was just smoking Monty 4 and very common cigars.
Like me,
Yeah.
I started with Monte 4. So
Yeah.
in fact, what happened is that you saw those cigars that you had never seen before. Let me relight your cigar. So it was first the excitement of seeing those new cigars
Yeah.
coming your way and wanting
And the
to know
interest,
more. Of
so
course. Yeah.
suddenly I was seeing, like at that time, people would buy the commemorative humidors and split them up and sell them as singles and stuff, because the
Wow.
prices were so much
Yeah.
lower then. So yeah, I would get these really exotic, interesting cigars, and then you want to find the information on them and taste them, and yeah.
Okay. So that's
my interest in the hobby really expanded a lot at that time.
and you quickly understood, which was not my case. You quickly understood the organization of regional edition, of limited edition every year.
Yeah.
How everything, even the collection book and everything. It took me. I was a smoker, but of the same cigars, and like a lot of people when they started.
Yeah.
But I was not really curious until I started to see I started with the limited edition because I saw how quickly they were leaving the shop and not coming back. Then I realized they were just for this particular time. But
Yeah.
collection book was much later as well for me. Reservers, non reservers. But for you, it was very quickly. You understood the organization.
I guess I really had to understand it, because I was writing like the
Exactly.
software to categorize it all. So yeah, you really have to have in your head, this is this kind of database structure and this sort of stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so
it forced me to think a lot about cigars too, and doing that work.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I guess that enabled you from 2008 to 2010, all this hard work of organizing?
Yeah, 2012
12.
was so. I started in 2008 working on CCW, and then I'll say there's another incident in between then, which is in 2009 I was living in Shanghai, which in that point I joined a club. Just some guy on Friends of Habanos had posted, we have I think it was called the Gourmet Society in Shanghai. So I'd go on Thursday nights to have a steak restaurant in the old concession where these guys would meet and smoke cigars. And that was I'd go there every week, and yeah, that was my first time meeting like really veteran cigar smokers and hanging out, in the lounge, talking with much older guys. And yeah, you mentioned you had a mentor, and that's sort of, I guess, where I first started to have,
And realize you're not on your own.
Yeah.
There are other people
Yeah.
who would start talking, and we meet sometimes guys. I remember many years ago I met this guy. He could remember box codes. He could remember vintage, the different standard production, the year he smoked, what he liked, and everything. Some people are, like wine.
Yeah.
They are extremely precise.
And I guess, this group too was, like there was a Swiss guy and a German guy and some local guys. So it's my first experience of what I'm sure you've had many times, is when you sort of, the international brotherhood of cigar smokers, where you all just connect. It doesn't really matter your, place where you are in life, or your like wealth, or whatever. You can just connect over these cigars, and the good life is yeah.
So that was not just the hard-working part, but the, satisfaction part of the cigar community, not just coding and writing. You started to enjoy even more the part.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so 2012 was when Trevor decided, like, it had been his retirement hobby and he wanted to sort of, I guess, move on. It was maybe the website was becoming too big. He got a lot of emails every day from people. So he asked me if I wanted to take it over, fully. So from that point,
You took over.
I took over the administration side as well as the programming side.
And so where is Trevor now?
He's still in Sydney.
To Sydney.
He collects stamps. He
He moved to stamps.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was his thing.
Okay.
And actually, he asked me when he first started. He said, "Oh, I'm building a stamp website. Can
He
you
said
can
no.
you help me with this stuff?" And no, I helped. I did a
Oh,
little
you
thing.
helped? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
much smaller community than cigars, but I think
Really?
he has a
Because it's a never-ending thing.
Yeah.
Stamps, like cigars.
Yeah.
But Cuban cigars, at least you can manage the new cigars. But new stamps must be crazy.
I don't understand it completely, but I think his website is like a very specific type of
niche,
Australian
niche.
stamp
Ah,
from a
okay,
certain time.
okay, that's
It's
fine.
like a category. I think not even new releases. Like it's like this series,
okay.
in the 1960s or something. A
Okay.
very like thing. But I think, yeah, it's still the same mentality that I think he's created like a reference for that community that is really important. Just for free for his own satisfaction,
Okay.
which something commendable about Trevor.
So I remember you had soon after that, you had an issue with a server. The whole thing crashed, I guess. That was a bad experience. You had
yeah.
to save all the information.
So that's a few years later. That's 2016.
16, okay.
Yeah. So
You're on your own at that time?
yeah, on my own for quite a few years, and yeah, I mean, Cuban Cigar website, even from like 2008, it was a very like respected website in the community because
It is
there's
the
not really
reference.
any other
No.
resources like that.
And
But-
Habanos is very lucky that they have you because you don't have to do the job, in a way. I mean, I respect Habanos because I know these guys work very hard, and they really helped me when I had this issue with a fake box, and I respect that for them. But for them, it's great because you're doing all the the work of classifying, organizing,
Yeah.
taking the pictures and everything. So it's good. It's good. Now, from 16 to now, basically the website is working fine. Everything is
Yeah.
fine. So you talked about the fact that, I mean, when I say it, and we are both coming from capitalist countries, I'm thinking, everybody would try to make money out of it, making even a $20. And don't insult me because, as you know, cigars are expensive, but this website is free, and I mean nothing comes free in this world. But
Yeah.
So you've been tempted, especially the cost of the server, the cost of your work, your
Yeah.
time, and so maybe one day there will be a premium thing. But so if you are using, and I think I will be one of these guys. You using the website, make donations. Maybe we'll have to do a special event to donate because it's a few $1,000s every year, not including your time. Of
Yeah.
course. Okay.
Yeah, if you took
But-
the time, it would be.
But this is when I think you can start. We are now going to talk about the book because the book is
Yeah.
the concrete achievement of the whole work you put on the website.
Yeah.
It's and this is not free, so you're selling the
Yeah.
book. So hopefully, you're finally going to see some,
Some revenue.
money of something like 17 years now. No, 15 years of work.
Well, I'll say there's definitely some, the book makes some money, but if you look at the hourly wage of what I put into the book, it's not a good,
Okay.
it's not a good career. So, well, I've never monetized. Like the main way you could monetize the site would be advertising, but the Habanos is not going to advertise. So if I'm putting any ads there, it's probably going to be non-Cuban cigars.
Yeah.
Maybe accessories. Maybe a few Cuban stores will advertise.
Yeah.
But for the amount of money it would make, I think it would demean the site so much to have big banners.
I might have some ideas of
Yeah.
things that could, I would say, people that would. I mean, I don't honestly see you as trying to sell ashtrays and say this one is better than the others. And I understand that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there might be. I will talk to you. Maybe things that are very complementary
Yeah.
and that could fit.
Yeah.
And also make sure that the basic at least your costs are covered.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that would be good.
I guess you're right. So that is one of the reasons that I came to the book, is that I wanted to make some money off it, all this work for all these years, and at least cover the costs and give something people
and it's
real,
not virtual.
Yeah.
Because I mean you're a programmer. At the end of the day, when your computer is switched off, I used to work as a trader. You go home, what did you do? It's not like a baker who came and has made the bread and he's seen. You see what I mean? It's all virtual. So now finally you can see. I'm going just to go and grab one of the books, so at least we will see it. So this is the book with your name at the bottom. So this is El Habano Moderno. Do you know how many you printed?
3,000.
3,000. Okay, just like your original edition, a bit like your original edition or a collection book, basically. 3,000. Okay.
2,000 with this red cover, and then there were 500 collector's ones with a higher presentation, and then 500 blue ones, which were for
the Kickstarter, the people who sponsored the program.
People who waited 2 years for it.
It was worth it, to be honest. And these are the updates, because obviously that's the good thing, is that you're selling this for about what, $200 US, roughly around that,
somewhere around there.
And you're selling this for $1,000 every year. That it's like the razor blades. You sell the razor for cheap and the blades are very expensive.
Yeah, very clever.
Yeah, I mean, you had to become a millionaire quickly. So these are the updates that will come every year. So it's a non-stop job. So whatever you put on the website, which is new, you have to update a paper version.
Yeah, I do actually. I have. I have the design files on my computer, and just every time I do an update to the website, I always just add it to the book.
Yeah, sure.
It only takes 10 minutes then, or I could do it all a year, once a year, and it would take a week.
I did work, and at least you don't forget something,
Yeah.
and it's done. And so, okay, so this is the book. Where can people buy it at the moment? Where is it for sale?
Germany, basically.
In the shops?
Yeah.
Yeah, because here in Kuwait, they still have a few ones. Not many left.
Yeah, there's a few here. I think there's a few in Dubai. But basically, it's sold out from the publisher. You can pre-order the next printing, which will come in a few months. But the only place is retailers that purchase them wholesale from us and still have stock. The Fifth Avenue in Germany, the distributor there, bought a large quantity. So a lot of their shops still have stock. But yeah, it just depends on your local LCBH.
Yeah, so
you can't buy them from me.
I have a few copies signed by Alex, which I'm going to sell for $5,000 on eBay. Everybody has to make money, Alex. I mean, I'm sure you understand that. It's understandable. So it's a beautiful book. Of course, I see it as the continuity of Min Ronnie's work.
Yeah.
And I think it was the aim initially to do.
Yeah.
What is the difference between Min Ronnie's book and yours? I mean, the size is similar, the weight is there.
I think mine's thicker.
It's actually much thicker,
well, I think, so as I said before, Min Ronnie is documenting a particular era of Cuban cigars. So from 1980 to 2000, and then after 2000, things really changed. And I think really today, in the last sort of 2 years, we're seeing another big change in the industry. Now that production is much lower, prices are much higher, they sort of seem to be moving more towards luxury presentations and high-end packaging and things. So
difficult to find a box below $1,000 US.
Yeah, or new releases particularly. It's,
everything is shiny. Everything is, and I mean, me as like a lot of old aficionados, we prefer the plain boxes, no thrill. What's inside is more interesting.
The most exciting thing is a 50 cab with no bands.
Exactly. Smells really good inside and no thrills. And it's true that it's like going to an espresso shop to buy coffee. You feel like you're in a jewelry shop. And nowadays, the boxes are extremely they look expensive. The
Yeah.
box itself, some boxes look expensive. Yeah, it's a new thrill.
Yeah. So I think that's what this book. That's why it's called El Habano Moderno, because I mean like that. The modern, is from that time. Like it's around 2000 to 2005 was sort of the transition period, and then we had one era, which is the era of the regionals, and different things were discontinued, different things were released. It sort of was a similar time,
Yeah.
and then now I think we're seeing a new time. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but
That's why I mean you took great care of taking the pictures because
Yeah.
of the boxes are so beautiful and the humidors.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, and it's not that easy to catch up, even for me, to be honest,
Mm.
because you hear about a launch here, a launch there. It's difficult, There was one in Limassol last year
Mm-hmm.
For the Casa del Habano edition, for the original edition of Phoenicia. There's one in Switzerland, so there are a lot of launches and everything. So you need to catch up. How do you catch up? Because you're not linked to Habano, so how do you catch up with? You have good contacts, I guess now.
Yeah, I have good contacts with the distributors and with a lot of people like yourself, who've emailed me, who say, "Oh, this is out of date. This was released," that sort of thing. Of course, I get like the press releases from Habanos. I have access to the people share with me.
Yeah, let's say it's not easy. I mean, it's not straightforward. It doesn't come straight into your system, and I think you still have to do your homework.
I have to do it. And I have to buy. So I try and people send me pictures, but it's difficult to use pictures from people because
I tried.
Look, yours are pretty good.
No, but because I understood, because you explained to me. I mean, a lot of people I wouldn't say they don't know. Is that it's so difficult to make a picture of a cigar. I mean, I talked to one of the most famous photographer of watches in Switzerland. I didn't know how much this guy was making, but because of the shadows, because of the lighting, the lights and everything, it's and especially cigar and cigar bands. You can't just, everything has got to be. It's like a job in itself. Huh?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm really proud of in this book. Is you look at the photos, you can see the texture of the tobacco. Like like the Minrone book uses mostly pictures from the Cuba tobacco catalogs, and they're very, I think, not even their real cigars. They're just like they took a computer file and made like the right shape and colored it brown, but that's it. Whereas with these photos, they're all the genuine cigar that I actually, even if there's two the same size or whatever, or one with no bands, I always tried to find the real example, and then you can look, you can see the little cracks in the tobacco, you can see the little hairs, the blemishes. It's I really like it how.
No, it's very
real
impressive.
it is.
The quality of the picture. So, congratulations for that, really, on behalf of all the community. I mean, I just spoke to a friend this morning. I said, "Do you have the book?" He said, "Yes, I have the book." So I think people are really conscious that it is a book. It's a must-have book. So if you know a cigar aficionado and you want to make a present, it's definitely the book to buy and the book to have. So what's next now, apart from the updates on the Cuban Cigar website, and it's already an active. You're busy, but is there anything we talked in the past about. I discovered there were so many discontinued brands, and nobody seems to be able to find that. And as time passes,
well, I don't know if it gets harder, but it doesn't get any easier. Yeah, it's. I have a list. So that's another reason that this is limited to like that 20-year period. Well, one reason I didn't want to repeat Minrone because that book exists, so there's no point in doing another thing that documents all the 80s cigars. But it would be impossible for me to get the photos of stuff that's discontinued, 30, 40 years ago already. But I do have a database that I maintain myself. That's every name of every cigar I can find in any historical record, which is thousands and thousands of cigars. Most of the time, it doesn't say the size. You don't know anything about it. Just as some catalog from 1930 will say, you know, Romeo and Julieta, Hildalagos Deluxe or something.
And if you go on Cuban Cigar website, there's an area you can find all catalogs. I mean, the website is not just about current cigars, and there's discontinued, of course, but if you look, there are parts of this website where very, very old catalogs, information, and it's very complete.
I was really, that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So those old Cuba Tobacco website catalogs, people would sell them on eBay or on Toro Collection and stuff like this for quite a lot of money. And it really annoyed me because information should be free. Like those are, you know, primary sources for resource, and they're just not documented anywhere. It wasn't possible to find, you know, the scanned copies of them. So, yeah, I thought I'm going to put them all up, and I, you know, spent some money. I bought some. I got some from other collectors, and, you know, scanned them all. So I have, I think, complete Cuba Tobacco catalogs and quite a lot of other old catalogs that people have sent in and stuff. Which, yeah, so I'm really proud of that resource. That, you know, people, if they want to do if they don't believe what I say on CCW, they can do their own research and look and, you know, see what was in the market back in the day. But yeah, what it will, if anyone does that research, it will highlight there's so much that is sort of forgotten. It's just
a lot of families, a lot of guys started their cigar factory in these days. It was I wouldn't say wild, but it was huge.
Yeah. So I guess you're asking about what's next. You know, I'd love to do that book, to do, you know, 6-volume version of this that catalogs all, you know, back to the pre-revolution and back as far as you can go.
Maybe
you know,
somewhere in
I think
Cuba.
it's a lifetime project.
Yes, another life. Maybe somewhere in Cuba, someone has done this work at the beginning of, you know, maybe before the war, and someone has documented this, and it's sitting someone's cellar somewhere in a house in Trinidad, maybe.
Well, that's yeah, much like, so, you know, Trevor was just doing his own thing, and then suddenly I just emailed him out of the blue and we connected. You know, I'm sure now that I'm, you know, quite well known in the community, people do show up once in a while. I'll just get an email randomly from someone who says, oh, I have this, I can help with this. So, you know, if you have something that you think we could work together on or contribute, I'm always interested to hear from people. I always respond to every email I receive.
Yes, I know that. I know that, always. So, okay, well, good luck, and I hope I can help in a way.
Yeah.
I love to go to the old markets in Cuba. It's amazing what you find. Guys would come and say, I've got this, and you find this, an old book. So we never know, we'll find some more information about a lost, forgotten.
It's gone out a few times because I'm talking too much.
Yes, no, because I smoke, but I ask questions, and usually they're faster than they last. They don't last as long as your answers. So
but yeah, beautiful cigar. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your time, Alex. Thank you very much for signing all the books yesterday. I mean, you saw the turnout. You're in the Middle East. The guys were really, really happy to see you. Yeah. And it's just the beginning. Just the beginning. So see you in Havana, Cuba for the festival.
I will. It'll be I haven't been. I've never been to a festival before. I've been to Cuba a few times, but
it will be your first festival.
My first festival.
Wow.
And I think, for me, because I know so many of these people, you know, all from all over the world. We correspond all the time, so it'll be such a good experience to meet so many people.
You're going to be very busy. Yeah. People, no, because I mean, Cuban Cigar website didn't have your name on it. You see what I mean? It was not saying Cuba, but
it's
now,
there in the about section. But
this is an achievement. Everybody's. I mean, this is for me the 2023 achievement, and I'm sure a lot of people are talking about it. Everybody knows this work, is impressed. Yeah. So now you're there. you're there and position yourself as a member of the community, not
Yeah.
behind just Cuban Cigar website. So, congratulations, and
Thank you.
and I'm sure you have a great welcome in Cuba.
Oh, I'm
and
sure. Yeah.
you will be signing.
I'd like to take some, but they're too heavy.
Yes.
And travel with 2 maximum.
Yes, but the thing is, people will come to Cuba with their book, and they will all have to pay extra. They will hate
Yeah.
you for that. Probably pay more, in extra weight than the price of the book.
I signed one in Australia that someone had bought from Europe for me to sign.
You know, I took those cigars from Indonesia, by the way. So they came from Indonesia. When I took to Indonesia, I found them in the shop there. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Good find. in
Yeah.
Indonesia,
I made a video saying, look, you can still find these,
Yeah.
and they were very good price. They were about, I think, $29 this one, US.
Wow.
Yeah. And they had number 2, and they had the number 3 and the number 5.
Very
Nobody,
interesting.
I mean, you still find opportunities. There's not the most, people would go towards the Cohibas, but Diplomáticos, old Diplomáticos, many people don't notice them.
Yeah. Still, you'd think that at least one aficionado has wandered through that shop in the last 10 years and thought, it's
Yes.
a good score, but no.
No. And they're still there. There's still some. There's still some there. That's all.
There you go.
Well,
Hot tip.
So, if you haven't booked, you can still all go to Havana, Cuba for the festival. Be able, I think, to register through the Habano's website in the coming weeks, and you will be able to meet Alex.
I'll be there.
Havana, Cuba, at the festival. So you registered. Everything is organized.
I think so.
Accommodation and everything.
Yeah.
Private jet and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're flying him special.
It's a long journey from Australia, I tell you what, to go to Cuba, because
Yes.
you have to go through Europe. It's
Yeah, but you can still, you're allowed to smoke in the plane, so it's fine. Well, thank you very much, and it was a great pleasure for me.
Oh.
Thank you for taking the
Yeah.
time, and
My pleasure. Very nice to meet you finally. We've
Thank-
corresponded
yes,
for
yes.
many years. It's nice to
Yes.
see you in person.
yes, thank you and goodbye.